Hello, everybody.
How's it going?
Welcome to Smoke the Podcast, Episode 2.
Yes, Episode 2. It's been a little while.
It has been a while. Apologies. We will start doing these more often, but we do have some busy schedules.
Absolutely.
So let's get into it.
Cool.
Today, what do we have for cigars?
So we have a Balmoral. I believe I'm pronouncing it correct. It's a cigar I picked up on my trip to Italy. In the duty-free store in the airport. I was told it's an everyday smoke, so it's more of just a general everyday cigar. So it's not anything too fancy, but from what I hear, it's just a pretty even, light, maybe medium-bodied, but more on the lighter side. So again, I don't really know much about it, but I'm excited to try it.
Sounds good. And for our whiskey today, we have Basil Hayden's Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. I'm just gonna we'll leave it for the taste test to see how we like it. I'll explain it more once we start drinking it. Let's just talk about the topic today. Is going to be the dove opener.
Right.
Hunting.
So that was almost a month ago now. So today's the 30th of
yes,
September?
that's actually about a month ago.
Yeah, so it was September 1st, obviously, is dove opener across the nation. And so, yeah, we'll be covering that. And then it's obviously going to be a mix of firearms and hunting because they go hand in hand.
Yes.
So that should cover it. And then I think we are going to go over what kind of setup we use and just kind of obviously talk about the trip and everything. So.
Yeah, the trip. I actually went on 2 trips. We'll be going over our loadouts and things like that.
Perfect.
So let's get into the cigar.
Okay.
We'll get into lighting these things.
I'll let you light up first.
All right. These things are pre-cut. The Balmoral.
Yes.
It says Dominican, which, I'm assuming it's Dominican tobacco.
Yeah. From what I was able to find out on it, that's all I know is that it's Dominican tobacco. It's an everyday smoking kind of cigar, and they are pre-cut. These are the tubos, though, the Corona tubos. So obviously they're a little bit thinner and a tad longer than what I typically smoke, which is a Robusto. But again, I don't think they should be too strong. I think they should smoke pretty good.
And not being a cigar expert, I think that these smell pretty sweet.
Yeah, and it's
not like fake sweet, but
yeah, not like a sweetened flavored,
not like an acid,
like a flavored cigar. Yeah. It's just definitely more of a lighter, sweeter scent.
Okay, let me go ahead and light up.
Okay, perfect.
I'll give you my initial thoughts.
Sounds good. Let's get it going. Actually, that's lighting up pretty evenly there too. I'm surprised, from what I can see at least. Oh wow, the smoke on that just sitting near you smells very, very good.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does. It definitely has a very good smell. I'll give it a few, about to the first third before I can kind of tell you about the flavor a little bit.
It's actually pretty cool having it pre-cut. I've smoked some pre-cut cigars around here before, and I've noticed that with the pre-cut cigars, it's hit or miss on the draw. This one, again, we have a few others of these that we can smoke, but this one has a really great draw for being pre-cut.
Yes, I like the draw a lot. It's not crazy loose. It's not super tight. It's actually about what I'm looking for in a cigar. I'm not a cigar expert, so I don't know how most people like theirs. But yeah, this is good. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, the initial puffs, usually on a cigar, just because it's so hot when you're initially lighting it, you're drawing in a lot more heat than you normally would when you're getting further into the body. Even just a few puffs beyond that. Even with lighting, with the intensity of the heat that comes with lighting, this was still pretty smooth and pretty lightweight.
Yeah, it didn't get bitter at all when I lit mine. I will say though the flavor is not very intense on this.
No.
Pretty mild.
Yeah. It's almost. I don't want to say I don't want to say flavorless because obviously there is some flavor in there. But yeah, I'm not really picking up anything distinct, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that this would probably be for your... They call it the everyday smoker, and it's probably for people that don't collect cigars.
Yeah.
It's just...
it's just something, maybe a habit that they have, or
yeah.
or I mean, honestly, for the beginning smoker, these would be great,
Yeah, definitely for the beginning smoker.
Yeah.
Not going to overpower you. I can tell that it's not going to make you dizzy or anything like that. You're not going to get a head change.
Not going to get that.
Mild.
Yeah, exactly. You could totally enjoy this. Obviously, we smoke more often than I would say a beginning smoker. At least I do. And in fact, to the point where I don't need to eat or anything before smoking. But I would say that if you were gonna skip a meal and have a smoke, or even have something like earlier in the morning or something like that, this would be the one that I'd go to, because it is just real smooth and really light. So let's move on to the whiskey.
All right, let's get into this Basil Hayden's.
I'm telling you, dude, that sounds like a name, a gender neutral name, Basil Hayden.
Basil Hayden, that would definitely be
you know what I'm saying?
Different name. So according to Basil Hayden's website, this is supposed to have spiced tea with a hint of peppermint on the aroma. The taste is supposed to be spicy, light-bodied, with a gentle bite. And the finish dry, clean, and brief. Whatever that means to you. I'm going to taste it. I'm going to tell you if I like it or not.
I'll try and match those notes if I can. But yeah, by no means are we whiskey experts either. I'm an expert in the fact that I know I'm not an expert. So the initial pour has happened. Cheers.
Let's see. What are you getting off that aroma?
It's not overly strong, or how you smell some of the not even just whiskey, but just hard alcohol in general. You get that real strong bite. I'm not getting that at all. It's not overpowering. You can actually take kind of a big whiff of that without it burning your nostrils.
I definitely smell the spice. I don't necessarily know if I smell a hint of peppermint. Definitely some sweetness in there. Could be peppermint. I don't know.
I got to be honest with you. I don't taste any peppermint in that.
I think they just sang about the aroma with the peppermint.
Oh, okay. You can definitely taste it. It's spicier than like a typical bourbon.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of spice. If it's like a. I mean, I'm just throwing this out there. I have absolutely no idea. If it's more like a cinnamon or some kind, I have no idea. But it's definitely got like a little bit of a bite to it, but not a bad bite. Like a good, I don't know, good flavor, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely got a good flavor. Not very strong.
It's pretty
goes down
smooth.
very smooth.
Yeah.
It's 80 proof. This whiskey has actually they started distilling in 1796, so it's very, very old. It says on the bottle that Kentucky was 4 years old at the time.
Oh, wow.
And George Washington was the president.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
It's been around.
1796. That's only 20 years after America became a
yes.
nation. So it's almost as old as America itself. That's pretty cool. I can get behind that.
I definitely like it.
Yeah, it's super smooth. Even with the note, like I said, even with that, the spice isn't overwhelming. It's actually like a good flavor to it.
Yeah, I can definitely drink this every day.
Yeah, so we're both drinking it on the rocks. I would assume neat. It might be a tad stronger.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, as the ice melts too, it's gonna even probably smooth out more. Not that it really needs to.
That's
yeah.
what I like in whiskeys. I like the ice to melt just a little bit. That's kind of where, not where it's completely melted, but where the ice is maybe melted down like a third.
Okay.
That's where I like to drink it. I know a lot of people drink whiskey with a shot of water in it.
Right. Yeah.
Which would kind of maybe give you the same kind of effect.
Yeah.
But I like it cold. So.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely enhances the flavor for me.
All right. So now that we've got our cigars lit and our whiskey poured.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Okay,
Dove
let's
opener.
go for it. Dove opener. Well, for those of you listening, this is actually my second Dove opener.
And this was my first Dove opener.
First Dove opener. So, I will say this. I can briefly go over my first Dove opener, just simply by saying it was there were a ton of birds. It was pretty easy to limit out for those guys that shot really well. Honestly, I probably should have limited out my first time out, but again, it was my first time out. First time really just shooting a shotgun at anything other than trap and skeet. And Dove definitely move faster than that. So, you shoot off probably more shells than you'd like to admit, but it's fun. It's a blast, literally. Pun intended on that. But this year was definitely different. I mean, that first year, last year, the Dove were just everywhere. They're flying all over the place. You had a constant target. Like, there was no downtime. Whereas this year was definitely slower. But, I mean, we still got a lot of shots off, and I think a few of the guys did get their limit. But, again, it was all about field placement at that point,
Yeah, so where we go, we're from Southern California. We go to the Imperial Valley.
Yep.
A little town called Nyland, out by the Salton Sea. Very popular for hunting. There's a bunch of fields out there. And like Ryan said, I didn't go last year, but I did hear stories, and there was a lot of birds.
Yeah.
I've heard people describe it last year as there's so many birds that you're going to have to let birds go by to reload your shotgun because you only have the 3 shells.
Yeah.
This year was definitely not like that.
No, not at all.
There was not a lot of birds going overhead, and when there were, there weren't in very big groups.
No, maybe I would say at the biggest group I saw was probably about five Dove. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. About the same for me. What does your setup look like?
So as far as dove hunting, it's definitely different than any of the other hunting that we've done. Most of the other upland game like quail and chukar. I mean, you're packing in and carrying all kinds of gear. So dove is kind of cool. It's unique in the fact that you really don't have to carry a lot because you're literally by the truck almost the entire time. I'll carry a little bit more than probably the average dove hunter because I do like to walk. I don't like to just sit in the field if I don't have to. If people aren't around, I'll kind of move from spot to spot. And obviously we did do that just because there wasn't a whole lot of activity where we were at originally. So we did walk around. But basically my setup is obviously my shotgun. I use a Mossberg 500 with a 28-inch barrel. With a modified choke on that. Obviously, for those of you that do not know, in the state of California, starting in 2019, but we've already started now the laws are complicated, but basically the gist of it is there is no longer any form of lead shot or bullet allowed in any form of hunting in the state of California, starting, I believe it's January 1st, 2019.
Yes. We have moved to steel and, well, not lead, tungsten, last year, anticipating this.
Yeah, because we wanted to get used to it before the switch.
It's actually kind of tricky because certain birds you can still hunt with lead.
Dove is one of them.
Dove is one of them, yes.
But like I said, we've swapped over to steel just simply because we're going to have to anyways, so we figured we might as well get used to it. It definitely shoots different than lead. I can tell you, I tended initially I tend to hit more with lead, like at the range, shooting trap and skeet. Steel definitely has a weird pattern, and the velocity is much quicker on it than lead. So I feel like I'm not having to lead shots as much, which is weird to me. So I'm shooting, it's just you just shoot weird with it. So anyways, I use a Mossberg 500, just the standard black synthetic stock pump shotgun, 28-inch barrel in a 12 gauge, and then this year I used Kent Dove shells, and they were awesome. I was actually a lot happier with them than the Winchester that I used last year. I think it was the Super X was what I used last year, steel shot. Also, I think I'm a better shot than I was last year, so I'll have to go back to the
Most
Winchester and see if it's as good. But
these types of things you get better as you do it.
Right.
You understand how the birds fly, and you understand the distances at which you can take the shots.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a big difference when it comes to the type of ammo you use, and the type of choke you use. You know how far you can shoot a bird,
Yeah.
and you can only get that from experience.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that we did prior to going out, my dad and I went out to the desert, and obviously we were just shooting out there, but one of the things that we thought would be smart was to take our hunting shotguns and basically put, a cardboard box out at 40 yards. And just see what the spread was like at 40 yards and then also at 30 yards and just kind of see, okay, this is kind of what the spread looks like. And so as far as leading and things like that, obviously that comes with actually just shooting. But at least you have a better idea of like, wow, it actually spreads out quite a bit. So it's not surprising when you find a dove that's only been hit with one pellet, So that's definitely interesting. As for the rest of my gear, I'm a little unorthodox. I carry an old military web belt, World War II issue, but it was issued to my grandfather in the Korean War. It's a belt that he's used hunting for years, and he gave it to me a while back, and so it's even got some deer blood on it, and so I know that he's used it a lot. It's definitely
got a lot of history.
Yeah, it's got a lot of history,
sentimental value.
a lot of sentimental value to me, and so I love that thing. I ended up going down to the surplus store and buying a web harness. So that way I can carry a little bit heavier of a load without having to worry about the belt shifting too much on my weight. And those military web belts don't actually sit on your waist; they sit a little higher, and so it does give my back a little more support when we are out walking around and stuff. So with that though, I do carry a modern magnetic shell bag, and then a bird bag as well, magnetic. I think Alps is the company that makes it. I got it on Amazon, really great deal. The pouches are amazing. Comes with 2 pouches, a water bottle holder, and a bird bag. All magnetic, so you can be climbing up through all kinds of brush and whatever, and your shells aren't going to fall out. It stays pretty well locked. But it's not like Velcro where you're constantly having to rip it open to get your shells out and things like that.
And that sounds really good for checker season.
I loved it last year for checker season, and that's precisely why I got it. And I love it. Again, I got it on Amazon, probably I think like $40. The belt that came with it was like a cheap, like, I guess you'd call it like a webbing, but it really wasn't, like that seatbelt material, but super thin. And yeah, it just didn't do the trick. So I've put all those pouches onto the military web belt. So with me, I typically, for dove, I carry anywhere between 25 to 50 rounds. Obviously my bird bag, I always carry a water bottle with me just because it's so hot out there. To give you an idea, the average weather during dove opener is about 105 degrees.
It's very hot out there.
Last year when we were there, it was 113, I think, or 114, something like that.
Yeah, it's super hot, especially beginning of September. That area is just really hot, and the plan typically is to start shooting when it's legal to shoot, which is 30 minutes before daybreak, before daylight or sunrise.
Yep.
And we want to get out of there before 8 o'clock.
Yeah, if we could, even before that. This year, unfortunately, because we just weren't getting enough action, I think we stayed out till 10 a.m.
About 10, and it was starting to get hot.
And I went through I had to go back to the truck to refill my water bottle. I carry a Hydro Flask, a 21-ounce Hydro Flask, which is supposed to keep your water cold for 24 hours, and I love them. I can't say enough good things about Hydro Flask. At the same time, though, I was burning through those 21 ounces like crazy. I mean, like I said, I refilled that thing probably about 3 times in the time that we were out there. And so then, like I said, shells, bird bag, water bottle, and then I will carry, I'm a little unorthodox. I carry a lighter and cigarillos when we go out, too. The other thing that I would like to mention is my attire for the day. I think some people thought it was a bit overkill. I had long sleeves on, camo shirt, long sleeves, mossy oak. I also had boots, waterproof boots. Those are just my hunting boots, though. So, and then I also had long pants, microfiber, White Sierra hiking pants. Great for outdoors, hiking, whatever, breakaway as well. The reason why I wear long sleeves is just because the sun just tears you up out there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And so that was my only reason for it. Yeah, you sweat a lot, but again, you're not getting burnt by the sun. The other nice thing, which we found, I also carry gloves with me everywhere I go, even when it's cool. They're just a firm grip, just standard, like, I guess you call them machine gloves, or what are they, like mechanics gloves. Really great, though, for shooting and shooting sports, but I always carry them with me just simply, you just never know when you're going to need a good pair of gloves. Fortunately, this time they came in really good handy because of a plethora of mosquitoes. I covered up. Everyone was making fun of me because I had gloves in the middle of the desert, and then when the mosquitoes started biting everyone's hands, I had gloves on, and yeah, I didn't get bit. So my back, however, was a different story. They were biting me right through my shirt and everything else. So
those mosquitoes were relentless. I myself, my rig, I was severely underprepared.
Yeah.
This was my first dove hunting experience. So I brought my bird hunting shotgun, which is a Winchester Model 1200 that was given to me by my grandfather. It is a full choke. So with the full choke, you got to be pretty accurate. Don't get much of a spread. And it's a 20 gauge.
Oh, yeah.
So when I shoot clays, we typically annihilate them.
That is true. I can attest to that. There is no clay left.
It's either a miss or a destruction of the clay.
Right. We joke that he should only be allowed to have salt and pepper in his shells because at that range there's going to be no bird left.
It would just season them up.
Yeah, just season them up, man. Just season them up.
And I was shooting number 7 Fiocchi, and I was actually a mixture of Kent and Fiocchi because I had bought 2 different types.
Yeah.
And I carry a dove belt that I got from Amazon.
Okay.
Just your standard dove belt. It has 2 pouches. One where I carry whatever I need. I had gloves and water in one, and then about 30 shells.
Yeah.
But with the mosquitoes, I just went and sat in the car. It was too much.
Yeah.
I was wearing shorts.
Yep.
I was just totally underprepared. So, big learning experience for me.
Yeah.
And I was completely ready with the second time I went out, which is funny because the second time I went out, there were 0 mosquitoes. And I put lots of mosquito repellent, which I always have on me. And the very first time I went out, I didn't have it with me.
Yeah.
And I carry 2 things with me because I'm lighter in color. I always carry sunscreen, and I always carry bug spray.
Yeah.
And it was just bad luck that somebody used my bug spray just a week before, and I didn't get it back, and I always have it in that bag.
Yeah.
And I said, for me, I'm just going to sit, and I'm going to watch everybody else and kind of...
It's a great way to observe and learn.
Yeah, kind of try to understand a little bit more about dove hunting.
Well, it's a different style of hunting. B, we can't fault you for not bringing insect repellent because I think I distinctly remember telling you there were no bugs last year, which there really weren't. There were no mosquitoes.
Well, I believe you after the second day.
None of us got bit up, and yeah, it was a completely different story, which is why I also didn't bring mosquito repellent or any kind of insect repellent. I will say this. After that experience, I will never not carry it with me. In fact, it's just always going to be a part of my hunting gear now.
It's such a small thing to bring with you. I mean, it's so easy to bring it. You might as well just have it.
I didn't bring sunscreen, but I also knew that I had long sleeve everything. I had, multiple hats and, sunglasses and everything else. So I wasn't too worried. I always bring a face stick that I use for surfing or, when water sports really more. But I always have that with me. So that was great to just cover up my neck and face and the few exposed areas I did have. Which was fine. So I was prepared there, but from here on out, I do honestly believe that I'm going to start carrying sunscreen along with insect repellent. It's absolutely vital. The other thing that I wish I would have brought, because we did a lot more walking on that trip than I thought we were going to through brush and everything else, I really do wish I would have brought my chaps, my upland game chaps.
Yes, there was some
gnarly brush that we walked through, and there was a lot of cactus that Anthony and I walked through later that evening, going through, and I do wish I would have brought those. And I have them. I've used them before. They work great. They keep out cactus and everything, but I didn't bring them. Anyways, back to the point we were making though about dove hunting, how it is a different style of hunting than any other hunting you see out there. For those of you who haven't hunted dove, it really is somewhat of a shoot fest.
Yes, and I learned that the second time I went. There was definitely less people, because it was a week after, or maybe about
I think it was
9 days after.
I think it was on the 9th, because I think it was the day that we left for Italy.
It was the day after.
It might have been the 10th then.
It was the 10th.
We left on the 9th.
And we went the 10th, and there was less people out there. Dove opener was on a Saturday this year.
Yes.
So there was a lot more people. And you want to have the dove in the air, and the way you get them in the air is to have people. And you're pretty much tossing them back and forth, and they take off because people are shooting at them. Then they get to another spot, and if there's people there, then they're going to keep on moving back and forth. It's almost like you're playing ping pong.
Exactly.
And go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, in fact, on opener, though, I don't know if you remember, we had kind of spaced ourselves out in like a Z pattern.
Uh-huh.
You know, we had one line and then, essentially like a big Z. Where we had a line of guys, and then 90 degrees from that we had another line of guys, and then 90 degrees off of that we had another line of guys. And so as they would fly over, depending on what way they were flying over, in fact, we had, I think it was my dad and then one of my dad's buddies who was there telling us, shoot to the left of that. Like, even though you can't hit them, shoot to the left of them because it'll push them to the right towards the rest of the other guys. And so we were just shooting up in the air essentially to kind of move them one way to the other. And it's crazy how quickly they react, man.
Yes.
Like, because there were so many of them the first time I went out, you didn't really see that because they were just everywhere. But because we were seeing them fly like in little tiny groups, you could see them moving with the shots that came near them.
And what I noticed the second time, and it could be because there was less people, and it could be because the birds wised up.
Yeah.
They've
been shot
very
at.
skittish.
Yeah.
And if you weren't ducking behind a bush or trying to conceal yourself a little bit, they would bank. They would go away from you. And I noticed a couple times birds coming at me. I stayed crouched, and as soon as they saw me, they either turned. And actually, we had one where a friend of ours. I stood up. It looked like the bird saw me and it almost put the brakes on. It was pretty funny. It was like a cartoon where it was like, whoa, there's a guy there. And it stopped almost directly in front of our friend who was able to get the shot in.
Take the shot, yeah.
And finish him off.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see how they wised up and how they were able to move.
Absolutely.
And how they were able to recognize people.
Absolutely, yeah.
The second time we went also, that we saw a group of maybe, I don't want to exaggerate, maybe 35 to 50 off in the distance, and as we got closer, they just kind of moved away, and we never really could catch them.
It sounds like Chucker almost.
It kind of was similar, and I like Chucker because they're hard to catch.
Yeah.
You have to go find them.
Yeah, and you have to track them almost like you would a big game animal. And
the description of dove, when I first heard about it, and then my first experience, it's almost like you're waiting for the dove to make the move.
Yeah.
Where the chucker, you got to go get them.
You have to hunt them. Yeah.
And the second time we went, it was a little more like that. I noticed, though, if we got in the truck and we moved and parked, then they kind of flew around a little bit and you're able to get some shots. But maybe about 10, 15 minutes of that. And then it was nothing.
Yeah,
they were gone.
Nothing again. Yeah.
So then we had to kind of go find them again.
Yeah.
And try to try to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So it was definitely a lot harder. And I think if there was trucks maybe on every corner of these fields, it would have been better.
Yeah, it keeps
for them
them
to
flying,
be in the air.
and they don't really know where to go, or I think it keeps them a little more confused. Anyways, I have a point on kind of just the difference in dove hunting versus other hunting, but let's go back to the cigar real quickly, because I think I'm almost, actually I'm probably almost a third of the way done, maybe even halfway done.
Yeah, I'm about into the I'm in the middle of the first third still.
Yeah.
I smoke a lot slower, as you guys will learn.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would like to just give some of those notes and then also follow up with the whiskey.
You want me to go start?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I think this cigar is very mild.
Yeah.
And I like mild cigars, but this cigar is very mild.
Absolutely.
And I like it with the whiskey. The whiskey maybe gives it a little more
flavor.
Yeah, a little more flavor, a little more body or something. But if I was to smoke this, it's almost a little boring, to be honest with you.
It is. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of excitement in it. I do like the fact, like I said, there's the whiskey's smooth, but it does have that little spice to it.
A little bit.
The finish,
I can kind of taste it now.
The finish is quick. I was surprised when I had heard you kind of read that it's got a quick finish, and I'm thinking, nah, dude, whiskeys sometimes tend to have that little after bite, and you're kind of sitting there tasting it for a little while, but no, it goes down pretty smooth. With the mild cigar, I think it makes it even smoother and a little easier to drink too. So all in all, these cigars are good. I understand why they call them the everyday smoke, though, because they are super mild. I mean, you could do anything. You could be mowing the lawn. You could, be working in the garage, or just hanging out by the pool, or even like we're doing now, just sitting in the backyard having a cigar. These things are smooth. You can smoke them, I would assume, anywhere. They're smoking fairly fast, even for you. I know you smoke slower, but I mean you're kind of burning through it pretty quick, and the smoke stays pretty cool too.
Yes. See, I guess for this cigar, it's kind of the end of the day, and you kind of want to have more your dessert cigar. We just had dinner.
Yeah.
And this is definitely not it.
No. It's just I feel like this is almost like an appetizer cigar.
Yeah,
it gives you a little taste of what you want, but it doesn't quite quench that.
This might be one of those, and I'm not one of these kind of people, but you wake up in the morning and maybe have one with a cup of coffee.
And some bacon
quick,
and eggs, man.
Quick early smoke.
I know they say, this is the everyday Italian smoking cigar. Obviously, it's Dominican, but then again, all of our cigars that we buy at the store are either Dominican, Nicaraguan.
It's just the leaf.
Yeah, exactly. But I could totally see having a little cup of espresso and some bacon and eggs, or something like that.
Or an Italian breakfast. Did you guys have any Italian breakfasts?
Their Italian breakfasts are very different from ours. They're pretty like small portions, and they like very sweet, like kind of. It's not very savory. Like we like savory breakfast, right?
Yeah.
Eggs. You got salty bacon. You get pancakes with syrup and stuff, or French toast or whatever. But over there, it's like croissants and like pastries and almost like donuts and things like that. To me, I don't like sweets all that much, and so I honestly, this would go a lot better with a cup of coffee and like some bacon. You just need more flavor or something. If I could put salt on this thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, salt is the universal cure-all for food. If I could put salt on this thing, give it just something,
I guess that's a good description. Bland.
Yeah,
it's a little bland.
There you go. Yeah, it's bland. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely spices up with a little bit of whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. So for it's funny because I'm not. You can ask Teddy. Actually, he typically drinks his straight whiskey quicker than I do.
Yes.
And I actually have finished my glass before him. So obviously this is easy to drink.
Yes. It is very easy to drink. I'm really enjoying this. Yeah. And, I'm not just trying to say this for the podcast, because I would tell you the truth, just like I'm telling you the truth in the cigar. I really like this whiskey. I've always said Maker's 46 is kind of like my go-to whiskey. But, man, this is like competing with it, I think.
Do you know the price point per chance on this whiskey? Or
I looked it up. It retails, I think, on like Total Wine or your typical online retailer, about $39.99.
Okay, so a little more than like a Maker's 46 is what, like 35 or 36?
Yeah, if I can get it for 35, I'm usually pretty happy with that.
I know Stater Brothers has it for $32.99.
If it's 32, man.
$32.99. So what?
I might
33?
make a trip to Stater Brothers later.
Yeah, we might have to go. No, but I mean, that's not that much more expensive, and in all honesty, it drinks almost as well.
I'm kind of happy because this probably wouldn't have been one that I would try. I based on the way the bottle, the packaging is and stuff, it looks pretty fancy.
Yeah, it does.
But this was given to me as a gift by my cousin, and he said, "Try this. I think you'll like it." And he knows what I like, and I definitely do like it. And we're gonna pour up just a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe like just a finger pour.
All right, so let's talk about what everybody want. You want to?
I was just going to go back to the point that I was going to make prior to us taking the break for the cigar, just on dove hunting. It was actually kind of funny, and I'm hoping to have my dad, Frank, and Theodore's uncle.
Yes.
Obviously. Oh, and when we talk about our grandpa, it's the same grandpa.
I got the gun from the same grandpa that gave Ryan
the web gear. Yeah, he gave me a lot of other stuff, a lot of other web gear that goes with it. But obviously for dove hunting, that's the setup that I just the belt. But yeah, it's funny on the drive home. From the hunt, my dad and I had a kind of a pretty interesting conversation just about dove hunting and how different I don't want to say clientele, obviously that's not the right, the enthusiasts maybe who dove hunt, or the sportsmen. In all honesty though, that's a thing. I don't know that dove hunters really are that big of sportsmen. A lot of them, in reality, I feel like are weekend warriors that just pull up with their pickup truck or their trailer real quick, shoot for that day, and they don't hunt for the rest of the year.
It's definitely super easy. You don't really have to know much.
Yeah.
You definitely have to know a lot to be good at it.
Yes.
Like anything else, but it's one of those things where you don't. In order to start doing it, you don't need a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you really can
just need a shotgun and a belt, and even with that,
we had a guy I think who hunted with us the first year that had I think one pouch and realized, shoot, I need to carry ammo and birds, so he was putting the birds in his shell pouch and putting the ammo in his cargo pockets. I mean, you literally just need a hunting license, a shotgun, some shells, and some way to carry dead birds.
Yeah, that's basically what you need.
Yeah, and I know our cousin uses a magazine drop pouch
Yeah.
as his bird bag, which I think is kind of funny, but hey, it works. And
it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think though too, and I will say this, I think that the type of hunter that goes out is a lot more irresponsible. Dove hunting, because you just don't know the level of expertise. You don't know the people around you, whether they've had proper firearm training or even if they've grown up. I mean, we grew up around guns. Mm-hmm. We haven't been hunting for that long, but I've been shooting my entire life.
Yes.
And we knew how to handle guns from a very young age. And you get a lot of people out there that probably have, and I've seen it, that I know for a fact have no idea how to handle a weapon safely.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea, we grew up with the same grandfather, and we used to have a pellet gun at his house, and he made us have all the rules.
Yeah.
Just like it was a...
I remember taking toy guns over there and him
Yeah.
telling us not to point them at each other and,
Yeah,
and things like that.
we definitely were trained on
Yeah.
gun safety
Oh,
at
yeah.
a very young age.
Yeah. I remember he used to hate us playing airsoft. I mean, he knew boys will be boys and we're going to play airsoft and do what we're going to do, but he didn't like the idea of any gun being pointed at another person. You always know where your target's at, and he's very, very much, if we were out shooting in the backyard, he wanted to be right there and making sure that we're handling everything safely. And I love that.
I think another thing that might be a little concerning about dove hunting is it kind of creates more of a party atmosphere.
It does.
Than, say, chucker hunting or even quail hunting where you have to go out and hike. You're right there by the truck. A lot of people are sitting in chairs. And, I mean, it's very easy for you just to crack open a beer.
I'll be honest, we saw a lot of beer cans being opened.
There was a lot of beer cans, and actually the second time I went out, I found a lot of beer cans.
In the fields.
And I even picked up a bunch of shells. I picked up some beer cans.
And see, that's the other thing that I don't like as well. I mean, it's just, that was something. It's funny, they clean up the fields, I think, prior. I didn't really see a whole lot of trash on opening day.
No, it seemed very nice.
But yeah, that's it's funny because I heard that from some of the other parties that went with you. That there was more trash in the fields. That it just seemed like there had been a big party out there. And that was the aftermath of it, and that sucks. I mean, that's the area that we hunt in. That's the area where these birds are landing and living, and people are trashing it. Coming from the background in Boy Scouts, I'm an Eagle Scout. It's the whole thing of leave no trace, and I mean, we always did trash sweeps at the end of every camp. Anytime I'm out there, I'm always trying to pick up my shells. You're not ever going to find every single shell that you shoot, so I always try and pick up whatever ones I do find to make up for it.
Yeah, and somebody else's shells. Yeah,
exactly.
It doesn't
or
matter
trash,
if they're yours
whatever
or not.
it is. Yeah, you just pick up what you find and
you
carry
pack
it
out
with
whatever you can.
Yeah,
what you can pack out.
In fact, it was funny. My bird bag that day was filled with a bunch of dove, and it was filled with empty shells and trash and anything else I found. So, it's just the thing is my thought is I'd love for my kids to be able to hunt on the same lands that I've been able to hunt on.
That would be awesome.
And that's the dream. So,
I kind of compare dove hunting to fishing with power bait, where you throw your pole out and you plop on a chair and you wait for the fish to bite.
Mm-hmm.
Other hunting, chucker hunting, where you're actually going and finding birds, it's more like fly fishing.
It is.
You got to work.
Yeah,
you got to work to get that fish to bite. You have to work to get, to find a covey.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of hiking. You have to put a lot of effort. And to me, it's much more rewarding when you do get a kill.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's funny too that you mentioned that. I know I mentioned as part of my setup, I carry a lighter and I carry cigarillos, or I'll carry probably a bland cigar like this one that I can throw on the ground if need be, and take a couple shots and dust it off, pick it back up, and maybe the dirt will add some flavor. But no, it's funny because dove hunting is totally one of those things. I mean, I was puffing on a cigarillo the entire time we were out there, and I remember making that was one of the biggest mistakes and one of the things I learned when we went to the preserve, the Eastern Mojave Preserve. Going out there, and we're up in elevation, we're hiking all over the place, and I'm like, well, we got a moment of downtime, we're waiting for my dad to get back to where we were at, so let's puff on a cigarillo. And my dad gets back, and it's like, all right, let's get up this mountain. I'm thinking like, shoot, man, I can't even breathe right now, give me a minute. It's way more relaxed dove hunting, and so I love it. It's fun. I don't know honestly if I would do it if quail and chucker season opened on September 1st. But I think it's something that I love dove. I love the way they taste. They're good eating. It is a lot of fun. But in all honesty, I probably do prefer quail and chucker hunting to dove hunting.
I definitely do, but I think dove hunting serves a purpose. And the first time I went out, I didn't think so. The second time I went out, I realized it's very, very good practice.
It's great practice. Well, and
you're going to get a lot more looks.
Yeah, the other thing that we didn't really encounter this year, but I encountered the year before, is that like the Eurasian collared dove, there's no limit on it in California, and there's no season for it. You can hunt it all year round, and that's because they're an invasive species. They're killing off, not killing off, but they're eating a lot of the food that a lot of the other dove, like the white wing and the mourning dove, would typically eat. And so unfortunately, they're taking over, and they're kind of a nuisance. They hang out a lot in like more industrial areas or like in houses and on power lines and things like that, and so they're a lot more like pigeons, where they're a nuisance, and you almost want the whole reason why there's no limit on them is because Fish and Game has decided like this is not a good species to have around. We need to kill as many of them as we can. And so part of it also is ecological control, population control, and the carrying capacity in Nyland for dove is great, but it's inhibited by all of these Eurasian doves that are coming in, and I mean, I think out of so I got 7 this year. My dad got 8, and of the 7 that I got, I think 5 of them were Eurasian doves.
And they're a little bit bigger.
They are bigger, which is nice, because I mean, and they're good eating too. I mean, they taste just like, it's not like they taste any different. So
that kind of went into our next point. How do we do? Last year, Ryan's dad limited out, correct?
I believe so.
Got his 15 in the one.
Yeah, and then
one day.
One of his buddies limited out in I think 20 minutes or 30 minutes.
Yes, it was a lot quicker.
And then another one of his buddies, it was his first time out, as was mine, and I think we both tied at 7 or 8. I honestly can't remember, but I just know obviously we were like halfway there.
And how do we do this year?
Well, I got 7. And I did it in less than half the shells. I mean, I hardly shot. I think I got 7 in under 40 shells.
Yeah, I witnessed a couple of those shots.
Can you describe that one shot?
I overheard someone saying, "Coming your way," or something to that effect, and the shot came out. I don't know who shot it at the time.
You knew who shot it.
I kind of didn't know who shot it. And that bird just dropped.
Yeah, it was just like, and it was done. It hit the ground, and I didn't have to do anything. I literally just picked it up.
I saw a lot of birds get winged and things like that during that trip, but that was a dead-on shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, you definitely improved.
Well, I think part of that not only is just that my shooting, I've been practicing more. My shooting has improved. My dad's taught me a lot. Actually, he taught both of us a lot of dry fire drills that are super helpful.
Yes.
Which we practiced the entire day before, because we got out there the night before and we scouted the entire area, and then we literally just went back to the house and dry fire drilled until I didn't want to dry fire drill anymore. Which was, I love it. It was awesome. It made a huge difference for me. And the other thing that he told all of us, and I think I paid attention to it this year rather than last year. I think I was trigger happy, but this year he was very much about take the shots that you know you have a chance of hitting.
Yes. That's one thing that you don't get, because I did mention that it's good practice, practicing your skills.
Right.
Being able to shoot stuff. And when I first started, I thought, okay, I can practice at shooting clays.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And the big difference is distance. When you shoot clays, they're always within shooting range.
Absolutely.
Unless, of course, you're shooting trap and you let it get too far.
Right.
But you always know you're going to have a shot, where it's hard when you see a dove flying and you're kind of like hoping, okay, come closer, and then maybe it doesn't, or maybe it's flying at a little bit of a different angle than where it's not going to quite get to you, and then you're going to take that shot and you're going to miss.
Yeah.
It's just, if it's not in your range, it's not in your range.
Well, it's amazing. There was a few times where I thought, okay, this thing's way out of range, but I want to take a shot at it because, the opportunities to shoot were a lot less this year. So I was thinking to myself, man, I want to take a shot, but I know it's out of my range. And I held off because I'm thinking, I'm just going to waste a round. That's really all I'm going to do. And surprisingly, every once in a while, it would turn and start coming towards you. And had I taken the shot, it would have just pushed it further away. You know what I mean? And so then it's
And even if you don't get a shot on it, at least give somebody in your party a chance.
Exactly. Maybe somebody else further down the line, it's going to come closer to them and they can take that shot.
And I think for me and you, we both, I know, have the same morals when it comes to hunting. Is, I don't want to take a shot on a bird that I'm not going to kill. And the last thing I want is to, hit this bird and then it goes flying somewhere and
spends the next 3 days.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it. So, ideally you want to get that bird down close to you, where if you gotta put it down, by your, if you have to do it yourself, then you can do it humanely and quickly.
Absolutely.
You don't want to. You don't want to leave these birds suffering
the ethics
for a while.
definitely come into play in that too, as
yes.
well. Yeah. So that helps to make my decisions. Made my decisions a lot easier this year. Like I said, the first year it was a lot easier. They were all coming in close. They were everywhere. I was just a really crappy shot the first year. So you also don't realize like how much quicker they are. I know you mentioned that with. Trap and skeet, typically they're within range. Like you're almost always have a shot, no matter like you said, unless it gets too far. And you kind of know where it's going. With dove, you don't always know where they're going, and in all honesty, their speed is far faster than a clay pigeon.
Yeah, I took a shot. It's not only the how fast they are, but I took a shot on a dove, and it almost looked like it dodged it.
Like it knew it was coming or something.
I seen the thing I seen it pop up.
Yeah.
And almost, it almost looked like he jumped over it in midair, which doesn't make sense. But, that's the only way I can explain it.
Well, it's because it knew, and it was like, dude, like, watch this. I'm going to evade. It matrixed you. And,
maybe it felt a little bit of the blow of the compression or something. But, things like that, you don't have... when you're practicing, shooting plays.
No, not at all. They're going to literally launch the same way they launch every time.
Yeah.
And that's, the consistency is definitely different, so.
So, what were the numbers? I honestly got skunked.
Okay, yeah.
I alley-ooped one for one of the guys, one of our friends that went with us. My uncle said I probably got it on the tail, and it almost, as soon as I hit it, went straight up. And when it went straight up, it was just a sitting dove.
Yeah,
or a sitting duck.
Yeah.
And so our friends took it, was able to put the shot on it and take it down.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I didn't get any. We have family that live in Northern California, and they're avid hunters. And I know one of his friends got skunked also, so I don't feel too bad.
Yeah.
Because these guys have been hunting their whole life.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that this year just wasn't a
Yeah,
very
it
good
wasn't
year.
a great year. And actually, the
All over
reports,
the place.
the reports that came out said, you know, a lot of the areas that are local to us, we go a little further out. There's a few other places that are a lot closer that we could go. But yeah, people just were not getting their numbers at all this year. In fact, there were quite a few guys in the club that my dad's a part of that said, yeah, that they either got nothing or very little. I know my number, like I said, was 7 this year. I believe one of our other friends,
And that was only with a one trip because he didn't go out the second time.
yeah, that was
Because he was out getting these fine cigars in Italy.
in Italy. Yes, I flew all the way to Italy just to get these cigars at the airport, the duty free shop in the airport. But yeah, no, one of our other friends, I think, got 2 the second day, and then I believe he got 4 the first day.
And one of those was mine.
One of
the
those
second
was yours. Yeah, the one you alley-oop.
Yeah,
that
I've
was
been joking
you
with
got
him.
the assist on
I
that
got the
one.
assist.
Yeah, you got the
I'll
assist
take the
on that
assist.
one. Yeah. And then I know my
And
dad.
how did your dad do?
My dad got 8 the first trip,
And I believe he got 5 the second trip.
Yeah, he got 5 the second trip. So yeah. So he did the best out of everyone. 2 of his buddies from work, I believe, got their limits, but they also were shooting quite a bit longer than we were, I believe. So yeah. But at the same time, though, too, you know, it also depends too on how long you stay out there. I mean, we didn't want to sit in the heat, and they had just driven out there for the day. We were going to be out there for a few days on that first trip. So
Yeah, the other thing I learned is this is definitely, for me personally, a one-day trip.
yeah,
You know, where we go, it's not really far. It's not, you know, it's maybe, 3 hours?
yeah, about 3 hour drive.
You know, and I don't mind leaving at 2:30 in the morning, getting there by, 5:30.
Yeah,
Maybe having 15, 20 minutes before shooting time
yeah,
to get everything ready and find the spot where we're going to go. Now we kind of know exactly where we want to go, and we kind of understand, that if there's no birds there, there's no birds there.
Yeah, then there's no birds.
You
Yeah. Well, and this time, like I said, we did take a weekend trip and made a weekend out of it. We did look for cottontail. We saw a lot of quail, so we know that it's a good spot possibly for quail hunting later this year.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite moments on that second trip. I saw a covey of about maybe 30
Oh wow.
quail.
Okay. Yeah.
And actually I saw maybe about 10 or 15 on the road that I was walking on, just kind of walking, and then I spooked about another 15
That's awesome.
as I walked by them, and it was amazing to see them.
Yeah, I know when we were looking for cottontail in the evening on opener, it was after everything was kind of over and done. We were looking for both dove and cottontail. I had a shotgun and a 22 with me, and we spooked a covey as well. Anthony and I spooked a covey as well, and that was pretty awesome to see. I mean, I had no idea they were there. And so to see those things just like kind of flutter out of the brush like that, I'm like thinking, man, if this was quail season, that actually would have been a shot. I could have taken one, and so that was actually really exciting because that's the closest I think I've been. I was within probably, I would say, 5-10 yards of the covey, and then that.
Yeah, very exciting. It makes me really excited for quail.
I'm super
and checker
excited
season.
for chucker and quail season this year.
So. I feel like I kind of got my my first shot jitters out of the way. With the dove, get a little practice. I'm starting to understand. Shooting a full choke is not that easy.
Yeah.
And I do okay on the clay, on the clays, but I definitely need to practice more.
Yeah.
I mean, just like anything else, you can't just go out and expect to slay dove and maybe shoot once a year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like going out to the golf course and thinking you're going to hit par, if you haven't played in a year, So.
Yeah, one of our other cousins that went with us just kills it on the range and the clays, and does really good. And he struggled. I want to say he got 4 dove, and I think his big thing was distance.
Yeah, he was doing, I think, exactly what I was doing last year, where he was taking shots when they were a tad too far out.
Yeah.
And rather than hitting them, he was just scaring them off.
Yeah, and it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
You're not going to, unless you do it, you're not going to understand.
No, yeah, you really aren't.
How you work and how your gun works and
it's funny, because
all the little things.
I had gone out last year as a new hunter, and so this year it's like, okay, I've been out and I've seen it once. I always still consider myself a very brand new hunter, but
yes, me too.
But it's funny, like trying to describe it to you prior to going out. Well, it's like I'm trying to come up with words to explain this is what it's going to be like, and there's just really no way to explain it until you're there.
Yeah, it's an experience.
Yeah,
you have to gain experience.
It's great, but
all right, so. What do we do with these things after you shoot them?
Well, as you already know, as of last year, which was excellent, our take last year, we actually made dove tacos. So for those of you guys who don't know, we do have some ethnicity in our background of the Latino variety, and so tacos are.
Or one of the only foods that Ryan eats.
That is not true. I eat a lot of other things, but the running joke is that I only eat tacos. That being said, we made some very good dove tacos, and actually, I got to credit my father with that too, because
he definitely
he did an amazing job. He also made those. What would you call the hatch chili? Like it's not. I
would say dove. It's similar to dove poppers, which is one of the most popular foods that people make out of dove. It's usually with jalapeno wrapped in bacon.
With a little bit of cheese.
A little bit of cheese or something.
Yeah. We made a more Latino version of it.
we use Hatch, New Mexico chilies.
Right, but we used the queso fresco.
Oh, yes, we did.
Yeah.
And they came out very good.
Yeah.
The way we some people can take the time to pluck them.
There's not a whole lot of meat.
There's not a whole lot of meat.
No.
You just breast them.
Yeah, breast them
That's what we do.
Yeah,
it makes it a lot easier.
So these ones, what we did is you actually basically just... is a little graphic, so for those of you that don't want to hear this, I would say mute us for about 2 minutes. But basically what you do is you take your thumb and you find the breastbone, you run your thumb all the way down underneath the base of the breastbone, and then you basically, the skin is so soft and they're so delicate, you can punch your thumb right into the insides of the dove, and basically you just take a grip of the breast itself, and you just kind of almost just rip it from the body, and usually everything comes off except for the wings. The wings are usually still attached to the breast, and then you just snip the wings off, and then pull the skin and feathers off the breast, dip it in some water, clean it off, and you got a perfectly good dove breast.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, just pretty much the same thing, just kind of rip the breast up.
Yeah,
kind of towards the head.
Sorry, not off, but...
And I found it just way easier. You rip the breast up and then just cut it with some shears.
Yeah.
And that was the easiest way for me to do it. For those who don't know, it is not legal to transport them without one wing.
Yep.
That is so that if you get pulled over by a game warden or something, they can identify exactly what kind of dove you have.
Yeah, and whether you're staying within the limits, which we always abide by all limit laws. I highly recommend to never do anything illegal.
Yes.
Absolutely. We are extremely ethical, and that's one of those things where, it's we even question sometimes, should we, even though we're getting back to the house, should we save a wing for each one? No, once it's in your home and you're not transporting them, you're out of the field, you're back home, then you can breast them out at that point.
Yeah, we just put them on ice after we got them.
Yeah.
And then transport them whole.
Yep. Yeah, and that honestly, that's way easier than cleaning them out there and then having to keep the wing attached and everything else. It's a lot easier to do that. However, I will say it makes it a little tougher when they're cooled down to clean them, because the skin and some of the feathers tend to stick.
Yes, the skin actually, to me, gets tougher.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to clean them.
Yeah, so I noticed. The technique I was using was you kind of rip the breast up a little bit, and then with your thumbs kind of separate the skin and kind of break it. That way you start it a little bit. Yeah. And I even had to maybe hit it with the shears a little bit just to get it started, get it open. Then, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it is. It's really easy. If you've never done it before, there's probably a ton of YouTube demonstrations on how to do it. So.
Yeah, I think the Arizona Fish and Game Department has a pretty good one. They show you how to breast them and how to pluck them. How to pluck them too,
which we did with the chucker that we got last season, and it's definitely a lot of work. With the chucker, it makes sense. It's a lot more meat.
But you can actually have a leg.
With the dove, it's kind of pointless, in all honesty. The breast is the majority of the meat, and as long as you're utilizing all of that, then yeah, you're good to go. That's a really, and it's funny, they're dark meat, very dark actually, but yet they taste really, really good.
I like them.
Yeah.
All right, let's circle back to the cigar. How you liking the cigar?
You know what? It's getting more flavor, a little bit, and I don't know if that's because obviously I'm sipping whiskey with it, but I feel like the closer I get to the end, the more flavor I'm getting. That being said, though, with most cigars, as you get closer to the end, you're increasing the heat on the draw, and so you get a little more notes of like a little more peppery notes. I'm not tasting peppery notes in this, but the flavor has gotten a little more bold, and I am quite a bit further along, I think, than you are. So
yeah, I would say I'm about the end of the second third, and I kind of understand why this is an everyday smoke.
Yeah.
Burns really nice.
Yeah. Super even. Yeah.
And I didn't puff on this thing for a couple minutes while talking, and it stayed lit. This is not work to keep this thing lit.
No.
My comparison would be this is like a notch up above the ones we have in the U.S. The Swisher Sweets or things like that.
Yeah.
This
would be the U.S. equivalent of a J&M.
Okay.
The yellow banded, everyday smoking Corona cigar.
Because it's definitely much higher end than one of those liquor store ones.
Right.
And it's definitely bigger. It's more of a regular
it's a regular
size cigar.
Yeah, it's a Corona. I mean,
but it's not it's not a high end hand rolled cigar.
I literally could smoke one of these while mowing the lawn, working out in the yard, like when it's hot and you know where you got to put it down.
Yeah,
and come
easily.
back to it and it would stay lit. Yeah.
Actually, this is probably a cigar, and I don't like smoking cigars like most people do. A lot of people that smoke cigars like to golf and smoke cigars. I don't like to do that.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't like to do that is because you have long periods of time where you put the cigar down.
Yeah.
I think this one would be great on the golf course.
Well,
because it stays lit so good. You don't need a cutter. It's kind of one of those ones it's low maintenance. This is a low maintenance cigar.
It super is, yeah. And the other nice thing too is I think you honestly, we're talking, but I think you could keep it kind of, even if you, and I don't recommend this at all, especially not golfing, but I think you could tee off with this thing in your mouth without it blowing too much smoke in your face. Or
probably,
else.
Definitely, probably tee off. My biggest mistake as a newbie cigar smoker was trying to putt with one of these things in my mouth. And the smoke was getting into my eyes, and
you get that watery eyes, and your throat gets all parched.
And I was trying to be cool, and that definitely wasn't cool.
But I think it's possible with this cigar. I don't recommend it, but I think it's possible.
The smoke's super mild.
Yeah, it really is.
Super mild. But this would be a cigar that you can do something while smoking. Me personally, if I want to enjoy a cigar, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to enjoy a cigar, I like to set aside an hour to enjoy a cigar.
Oh, yeah, because you want to sit back and relax and really, truly enjoy it, not just...
Ryan's a little different than I am, where he can enjoy a cigar that way, and he can enjoy a cigar while mowing the lawn or doing
golfing,
doing things,
hunting even.
Yeah, not my style too much, but I can say that this would be easy to do that with. Yeah,
you could easily see how this could be utilized for they call them like knockaround smokes.
Yeah,
where you just it's they can get banged up. You can leave them on the workbench for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and come right back to it, and it keeps going.
And I'm about to finish up a little bit of my. Well, I got a little bit to go. The second glass. Yeah, the little finger pour. I will say this: I had no ice in my glass on the second pour, so I'm drinking this neat, and even neat, dude, it's not overwhelming at all. It isn't. I mean, I have no ice anymore either, but it's pretty much melted in, so it's super flavorful. I really like it. This is a lot more enjoyable because I've had this before. This bottle's not brand new. I mean, I had maybe a glass or two out of it. Yeah. And I don't remember it being this good. And maybe matched up with a bland cigar, it's kind of shining a lot more. But yeah, I would like to see it without any cigar, just
on an everyday, like a, just a normal everyday, hey, let me pour a little glass of whiskey, I wonder if it would hold up to that. I'd be very interested to see it. To be fair, I did start puffing on this cigar before I even took a taste of it. So I think I'm going to want to try and taste test it with a very neutral palate at some point and see what it, see if it yields the same flavor and smoothness.
Yeah, it's always tough. I mean, if you're going to smoke a cigar and drink something, you're always going to contaminate your palate with one or the other first.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't take them both in at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I should have a glass of water to maybe clean it a little bit, but...
Yeah, but in all honesty, with the cigar, it's that smoke stays with you.
It does. So, in closing, what do you have any final thoughts?
I would say if you're new to smoking, if you're new to drinking whiskey, and if you're new to hunting, this is the perfect episode. Easy beginner smoke, easy sipping whiskey, and dove hunting is probably the easiest type of hunting you'll do, aside from maybe clay shooting. But yeah, no, seriously, I honestly believe we kind of unexpectedly paired these up pretty well. I mean, totally unknown to us. But on that note, if you're considering hunting, if you've thought about it, and growing up, I mean, our dads hunted, our grandfather hunted, hunting's in our family, it's in our blood. And we grew up, like I said, shooting. It's surprising to me that we haven't hunted sooner. But I will say this, there's always a weird kind of hesitation of, what's it going to be like when I take my first animal, what is it, what's that
was
experience?
Definitely a concern for me.
Yeah, what's that experience like? And I gotta say, dove hunting is the perfect mix of being able to shoot, because you're gonna get a shot.
Yeah.
Even if it's slow, you're gonna get a shot. So it's kind of like you said, it's gonna reduce that first jump, kind of the trigger itch or whatever you might call it. You're gonna have an opportunity to actually probably get game, which is cool, and it's gonna kind of give you the experience of what it is like to take an animal. And it was actually pretty interesting. One of my dad's buddies who was there hunting with us this time, I think a lot of people might find it, I don't know if it's, I don't know how people feel about this, but every time he would wing a dove and then obviously have to take the animal or dispatch the animal properly and quickly, he would always thank it, or kind of just say, okay, this, I appreciate your sacrifice, and obviously you're providing sustenance and you're providing nutrients for me. And it was interesting having, seeing that, knowing that that's my total intention as well, but actually hearing him say it and seeing that. And so it's definitely interesting to think that, that is how, not maybe our direct answer. Well, actually, no. I know Grandpa has talked about times where they had to hunt to put food on the table. Yes,
they definitely. He didn't grow up with a lot of money.
Yeah,
and that was one of the ways. I've heard a lot of stories of my great grandfather going out with 3 shells and having to come home with meat.
Yeah,
to feed the kids. Yeah. I mean, that's
and that was all they had. And if he didn't get anything, they weren't eating that night.
But he did get something all the time.
Yeah, he did. And that, and that also, like you said, comes with experience and practice. So I think the moral of this is if you are considering hunting, I would say that dove hunting is probably one of the best ways to start. My advice, if you are going to go dove hunting, is to go with someone who's been before and someone who's experienced.
With hunting, it's always about where to go.
Right, absolutely.
Where to go is very important.
But like we said, you can go out literally with a license, a box of shells, and a shotgun, and that's it. That's all you need. So it's pretty cheap. It's probably the cheapest form of hunting you can do in the United States. And I would say that if you are going to go, though, it is easy. There's a lot of beginners that are out there. But I would say take someone experienced. It definitely helps having someone who kind of knows, A, the area, but B, just the little things.
Yes,
I don't want to go into detail, but how to actually dispatch the dove if you wing it, or how to,
and to know when to take a shot, where to not shoot.
Yeah.
If there's people in a certain area.
Yeah.
To teach you things like that. Those are very important. I kept on hearing, you got to shoot above the tree line.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you want to shoot lower, you might actually
Pepper
somebody.
And you do get peppered when you're out there.
Yes, but if it's coming from the sky, it's not nearly as bad as if
No,
it's
it's like
coming
getting
straight
rained
in,
on
yeah.
or something. Yeah, but I got last year, not this year, but last year because it was a shoot fest. I did get peppered a few times. And yeah, it's unpleasant, but it's part of the learning process too.
Yeah, I think people kind of misunderstand hunters a little bit, and going off of what Ryan was saying, you know, you might. One of my biggest concerns was, you know, how am I going to react? You know, and I guess with birds, you know, I've fished before, so I kind of thought like it might be a little similar.
Yeah.
But it is an animal, and you know, hunters do care about animals, and we care about.
Yeah.
We care about, you know, our natural environment, and the animals are very important to most hunters that I know, or at least the ones that I admire.
Yeah.
At least the ones in my family. On another note that I'd like to make about hunting is, you know, we mentioned our grandfather hunted. Our fathers are both brothers, and they hunted growing up. And you know, when they grew up, and then they have different lives. So, you know, they kind of went away from it, which is the reason why we started hunting so late. My dad didn't hunt when I was younger, and he hunted when he was younger, when he was more, you know, teenage and
probably our age too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with hunting, it's kind of like brought us together more
As a family. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan's dad retired and kind of wanted to get back into it, and then he got Ryan and myself into it. And, you know, I've probably seen him more these last couple years than I've seen him ever, you know.
Right.
And it's really awesome. You
Yeah.
know, we have something that, you know, we can talk about. My grandfather loves it. One of my favorite things to do is come back from a hunt and go to my grandpa's house and you know, tell him everything. He wants to hear everything. He wants to hear where we went. He wants to hear what streets we were on.
Yeah.
Which way we you know, we got there.
Yeah.
He, you know, he was a truck driver, so he likes that kind of stuff, and you know, you go into detail with that. And you know, a lot of it with my uncle, just, you know, talking about different things, you know, dogs and where we're gonna go and planning trips. This is really awesome. I'm really glad I got into it.
Yeah. Well, and if you've ever hung out with our family, or if you know our family at all, you know that we're big storytellers, and that every story gets exaggerated more and more each time. And I think it's funny. You know, we heard a lot of stories about our dads growing up, and our grandfather, and a lot of our extended family and things like that. And so, you know, Theodore and I have been close for a while, but I feel like hunting has really brought us a lot closer. We have a lot more memories to share, and things that I can't wait when I have kids to be able to say, hey, you know, yeah, your uncle Ted and I went out and we were, you know, hunting here and doing this, and you know, I was acting like an idiot, and you know, he didn't know what was going on. And, you know, just there's so many great memories that you have to share, and I think if you've ever considered it at all, I definitely say try it. Just go out and, you know, it's an amazing experience. It really is.
Yeah, I think what holds people back from hunting is where, you know, to get a fishing license, you go to the store and get a fishing license. Right. Where the hunters, you have to take a hunter safety course.
Yep.
And that's kind of what's held back a lot of my other family members.
Yeah, and a lot of our friends too that we've invited. And
they want to hunt. Okay, that sounds awesome. Okay, get your hunter safety course out of the way.
I don't want to go down there and spend 4 hours and take a test.
You know, okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. But you actually have to do it.
Yeah, you actually have to go down and do it. And honestly, it took me going, you know what? My dad goes, we're going on opener, and it's like, shoot, all right, now I got to find a class and let's do. Like, I really wanted to go, but
that's kind of what lit the fire under me was. I didn't make it to opener last year because I didn't have my license.
Right.
And so I kind of got it, and I actually got my other cousin, and he thanks me for this now.
Yeah.
I made him do it because he's one of the ones that would have just never did it.
Yeah, he wouldn't have. And I know I distinctly remember coming back from opener and calling you and being like, you have to do this.
And I had to do it before.
Yeah, you have to do
season.
it before Chucker and Quail opener, because we got to go, man. Like, we have to do this. It is amazing. It's like nothing it's like fishing but on steroids. Like, it's more fun, you know. Not that fishing's not fun. I love fishing. We love fishing, but it's another level. Yeah, but I think the moral of this entire episode is try things.
Yeah.
Try a cigar. If you want recommendations, we're hopefully going to be doing this more often and having a different cigar. We might venture even into pipe tobacco and things like that. And obviously, if you're interested in whiskey, that'll be great. And we do obviously want to do cooking, barbecue, things like that.
We have a lot of stuff planned. It's just a matter of making the time
and putting it all together. But I think now that we've figured out how to post and air the podcast and stuff. I think
a lot of the delay was that trying to figure out how to get it out,
how to host it and everything else.
We recorded it and said, well, now what?
Now what do we do? And it's a lot of research and a lot of effort that goes into it. But now we've got it all figured out. And so now literally just sitting down and recording everything. So
So for those of you that are still here, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
This is Smoke the Podcast signing off.
Yeah, episode 2 in the books. Can't wait to talk to you guys again. Have a good night.